Welcome to Sovereign Mamas, the podcast sanctuary for visionary women who are building lives, businesses, and legacies in alignment with their feminine power. I'm your host, Julia Jerg, intuitive business coach, mama of two, and systems strategist for solo-led entrepreneurs. Here, we honor both your sacred role as a mama and your wild vision as a changemaker. Expect soul-aligned strategy, raw storytelling, behind the scenes, and powerful conversations that support you in scaling your business without sacrifice. If you're done choosing between success and sovereignty, you're home. Let's begin. Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of the Sovereign Mamas podcast. Today, I'm here with Miriam Simon, keynote speaker, mama, coach, and very interesting, very versatile person. So I'm excited. Hi, Miriam. Nice to meet you and welcome to the show.
Yes, Julia, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Super
Amazing.
excited.
Yes, me too. Let's dive straight in. Like you have an impressive bio, Latinas 100. I'm just reading, and author, Forbes Coach, Council member. Blah, blah, blah. So the titles are impressive. Where are we even going to start? What is your what was it when I reached out and you heard Sovereign Mamas, that there's such thing as a movement building and this podcast? What did spark in you? Why do you think sovereignty in motherhood and business is something that needs to be out here in the world?
Yeah, so something that I've always loved was being a mom. I wanted to be a mom from day one. Like, I'm the oldest of seven and the first granddaughter in my entire family. And it was just something, I grew up with a bunch of kids and I always wanted to be a mom, but I also wanted to be my own person, right? And I always knew that I wanted to do my own thing. And I've always been very vocal in what I've wanted and what I've needed for myself. And in the beginning it was really hard because I had all three of them by 21. So it goes against even my culture to do for yourself before you do for others, but because I grew up in the United States, I had a different kind of mentality that, you know what, I'm not going to lose myself for anybody or anything, even if it is my children. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to live with myself and be happy for my kids, not, the other way around, where people tend to have other reasons for serving everybody else, but then forgetting themselves.
Wow, that is so, yeah, that's so unique and also so impressive because where did you get that? Like, what do you think where this came from, this knowing that you wanted to focus on yourself? Because usually, um, from my own experience and also from people who I talk to, it's the 20s where we find ourselves. Oh no, the 20s where we search, and then the 30s where we find ourselves, and then we suddenly say, okay, we're tackling that parenting phase now. But you did it really like, wow, right at the beginning and still had the
Mm-hmm.
resilience to say, me too. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was mostly because I was born into an immigrant family, right? So my family came from Mexico. I also came from Mexico. And they brought me here to the United States at 6 months. And I needed to fight all the time for what I needed and what I wanted. And because they had different cultural upbringing, and I was living in the United States under a different culture, I always had to advocate for what I wanted. And so I learned different ways of living as opposed to the way my culture really wanted me to be. And the other part of it was that I always knew I was different. And so I am part of the LGBTQ plus community. And very young, I knew that I was different, but I was hiding that for most of my teenage years. And it wasn't until after I had kids that I found my wife. So I think for me, it was just the different, I knew how to listen to myself And I knew that I didn't want to live the same patterns my parents did, which they
Mhm.
had very difficult marriage. My father was an alcoholic, and my mom went through a lot of hard times, many kinds of abuse, and that was really, really hard for me. And I knew that I didn't want to live that same life, but that's all I knew.
And perhaps that also gave you then, um, the motivation to change something because I feel so like it resonates so much with me because I also have an example from at home where that actually then pushed me into saying, I'm going to live my life differently, right? It sometimes does that trick, even though we think when we come out of a perfect family, is there such a thing even? I don't think so. Well, but if,
Right.
happy married parents that are modeling that Cinderella book relationship, then we are doing the same and model the same way. But I don't even think so because the minute that you see something that you don't want, you know what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what happened to me was the fact that I was recognizing very young, and especially after I had the three kids, that, oh my goodness, I created the same exact life my mom had. And then I said, no, 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 I need to really change this. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in the same place, not being happy, not being able to do what I want to do. And so I began searching, and I started like reading books, paying attention to my teachers, looking for mentors, looking for people that I could look up to, and just find different ways of life, because I didn't want that same thing, that I just didn't want to live in chaos anymore.
Right. And so when you started becoming a mother, you were you at the same time already like starting entrepreneurship, or when did that happen?
No, no, entrepreneurship started now, maybe a year ago actually.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and it came after I lost my executive sponsor at work, and after my kids are all in their 20s, where they really don't need their mom figure as much, So I was really going through it, and I was like, oh my goodness, my kids don't want to spend time with me. My kids don't want to watch TV with me. They don't want to spend, eat dinner with me. They want to do everything that they want to do on their own time. They sleep different hours and do different things. And then I was finally thinking, you know what? What do I want? What are the things that I want to do? And my wife was working and always works shift work. So she works, different hours, 12-hour days, and I had a lot of free time. So then I started thinking, how can I use the skills that I have and start working externally and looking for things that will bring me more fulfillment?
And so that is now coaching other women. And talk a little bit about
Yes.
what you do now and what you see like sparked your inner passion and purpose.
Yeah, so what happened was that I was at work, I was doing professional development programs for minorities and women and administrative professionals. And then I started to say, oh, you know what? Let me go and see these other conferences. And I went to Latino conferences, and I realized that I was the exception, that I had reached a height that the majority of my people were not reaching. And I said, wow, I really did a lot, and I had no clue that I had attained so much, right? I was just going, 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 like a lot of women go, go, go. You reach the peak of your career. I'm an HR executive, and I'm thinking, oh, this is regular, this is normal. But then you go and look at the numbers and you say, oh my goodness, I'm only 4% of our population that has it. And then I just started thinking, hey, this is an opportunity for me to help and give back. And actually, I never had a Latina mentor or executive sponsor for me. So I said,
Mm.
definitely, there's opportunity there. And then, I started to see that they needed me, and I began to just start working and networking outside of my job.
Wow. Okay. And now that's something that you're doing full time. Like you've,
Yes. Yes. So I do it. I do my full-time job. And
wow.
then on nights and weekends, I do coaching. I also have
Yes.
my podcast. And I lead Lean In Latinas New York, because I want to provide a circle for women who don't have the family or anything like that. So I also had to create my own space, create my own circle. And it hasn't been easy because a lot of times we're the onlys in our jobs.
Mm, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel that women are like, do you feel that there is a change in how women rise up at the minute? Like I feel that nowadays a lot of more women empower themselves, and those who are already at a level, they can see it, and it's almost like we want to create that ripple effect and support each other. And I don't know, I feel like there's a global shift um in what's going on and how we approach it. And what, like you said, you wanted to give back and didn't even realize that you are leading something. Um,
hmm
yeah. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I feel like women are ready now to go to the next level, right? I think so many women have been servicing their families and their kids, but now they're recognizing, hey, what about me, right? What is it that I want to do? And what is it that helps me lighten myself up? And I
Mm,
think a lot of women are really ready to do it. And a lot of us were breaking cycles, right? From previous, whatever it was, whether it was an old relationship or whether it was our family dynamics that we grew up. And now a lot of women are ready to say, you know what? I can do this and be a mother. I don't just have to be a mom the way we were raised, right? Like
mm,
my mom was like, oh yeah, you as soon as you hit 15, 16, 17, they're already trying to marry you off and thinking about, you having kids. And no, now we're more about education, learning. And it doesn't have to be formal. It could be untraditional ways of figuring life out. And it's been really amazing to see how women are owning their power, but I still feel like they still need a little bit more help in owning it, because I think a lot of times they're still waiting for permission. Especially
mm.
in my culture, we're raised to live behind a man.
Mm.
Like you need to wait for permission, you need to ask for this, and you need to tend to the men in your family first, and your kids, and then yourself. It's not even a norm to do that. But
Yeah,
nowadays, I think we are getting ready to hit that next level.
absolutely. I see that too. And also how more and more women just claim it for themselves and say, no, what I have to say is actually important, and I don't need to wait for someone to give me the permission. But yeah, I also understand and see that there's still quite a few that are, yeah, that are there, that are waiting for that permission slip. And yeah, but it's interesting. I think we are in a transition phase, and a new chapter is beginning. That's
Yes, and I'm loving it. I'm loving how women are beginning to own their narrative. I
mhm.
think that's what it is, or they're seeking ways to get recognized, or they're seeking ways for themselves on how they can give back while still learning for themselves. And I think they're realizing their power, which a lot of them, we didn't have it, right? Systemically, we didn't have it. We didn't have laws that supported it either. And now we are, and we can.
Right, right. Tell me a little bit about your book. does that have to do with your story? And yeah, how did the book now influence what you're doing?
Yeah, so my book is called Tattoos and Pearls, Combining Street Wisdom with Corporate Strategy. And I was thinking in the beginning about just writing a memoir story about my life and making it normal for people to talk about their traumas and their experiences, right? Because a lot of times we're taught to hide and not air your dirty laundry to the world, and especially in my culture. And I was just thinking, you know what? I'm going to make it okay for women to start to talk about the difficult things that we go through as mothers, as women, as friends, as daughters. There's so many different things that we go through, like misogyny, machismo, abuse, emotional, sexual, all kinds of things that happen, and even just going through difficult times. And then as I was going through my writing journey, I realized that I wanted to become a coach. And then I said, oh, you know what? How can I turn this into lessons learned for other people as well? And then how can I incorporate a methodology for leadership? Because I love leadership, and that's actually what's led me to where I'm at today. And I said, let me share how these moments made me a stronger, more resilient person in the workplace and as a mom and advocating for myself and not being afraid of asking for extra money or doing extra things or going back to school after 15 years. I
Mm.
waited 15 years to go get my degree because I didn't have the opportunity. I was raising my kids first, and then I was able to do that. And so I was thinking, okay, what are the things that mark us for life? And how can we use it as leverage, as fuel to then have all the other things that we need and have all the other the pearls of wisdom that we gain at the end of it, you know? That's what I was thinking about.
I love it. I love it. Obviously, we will link in the show notes, and so people can check it out on Amazon and where it is. And so I'm really curious because your kids, it's so opposite of probably a lot of, not probably, a lot of women, right? Like I said, in the
Yes.
20s, you go out and be wild. And so how are your kids um observing you now? And what's the feedback seeing mom doing her thing and yeah, being out there?
Yeah, so they're proud of me and all the stuff that I'm doing, but it is an adjustment to see me in this way, right? So to see me talking on a podcast, to see me talking on LinkedIn Live, or to see me on in my book, right? Like to see all the stories that are in there. So they do recognize that I'm my own person now. I'm a different, I'm not just mom anymore, right?
Right.
And they're trying to figure out how they're going to adjust to it too. It hasn't been that easy because I don't know if it's their age or what it is, because they're in their 20s and they're, you know, I'm trying to help them get independent, but at the same time, you know, I want to support them as well. So it's not easy to do both.
Mm. And I imagine that because seeing like a change in the mother, and then that brings up a lot of what they're dealing with, and that brings up what usually adults, like when you're in your 30s, then you start looking into, okay, how was my childhood and how did that affect me? And they are now getting to do that earlier
Mm-hmm.
due to the fact that you're like in their faces right now and saying, here I am too. And this is, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
And you
interesting.
know what? They do recognize that they do recognize all the stuff that we went through, and like even how I carried some of the stuff from when I was a kid into being such a young mom. It wasn't easy for us, and we went through a lot of hardship because of that. And so they do recognize, like, mom, you're not perfect. Yeah, I know that. Right? So it's like, yeah, I've learned how to move forward, and now I need you all to unlearn some stuff that we went through too. And now
Right.
it's really up to them, because they're adults now, to figure it out and understand that, yeah, your mom isn't perfect. Yes, we did go through a lot of hard times. And yes, we did have trauma. We did have a lot of things that I carried into being a mom, and such a young mom at that, too.
Hmm.
I didn't know what I was doing, right? Like a lot of us don't know what we were doing. And I
No.
had a lot of baggage that I was carrying with me. So it was very hard. And so now to see where we're still at that phase where we're still working through a lot of these different things that we went through.
What helped you the most when you were like at this level where you in that phase of, wow, I'm young, I have these children now, and I don't even know what I'm doing here. So what was your anchor or compass in that phase?
Yeah, so my kids were really the motivation for a lot of everything that I did, right? I said, you know what? I don't want them to grow up the way I grew up. And then I started to read, books about self-esteem. Then I went to a Tony Robbins seminar. And at 23, I went to that Tony Robbins seminar, and that changed my life completely. And I said, oh my goodness, no wonder I am going through it. It's because I haven't met so many of my basic needs throughout my entire life so far, but I can create that going forward. And the other part too was that I was really given a second opportunity at life at 17, because I opened my book dedicated to one of my friends who was actually my boyfriend, but he was only my boyfriend for like 30 days. And we were at a pool hall, and a shootout happened, and he pushed me out of the way, and he passed away,
Mm.
and I survived. So when you have a second opportunity at life at such a young age, you can't, like, you have to
No.
take advantage of all the opportunities that come to you. You can't miss an opportunity. You can't have a for life uh after knowing that you could not be here anymore. Like, I could have never had my kids. I could have never met my wife. I could have never done any of that. And my wife actually was the one that came into my life about 25. I was 25 years old. And then we've been together almost 20 years at this point, and we've been supporting each
Wow.
other throughout this whole time. And she helped raise my kids, and my kids only know her as the mom, as a second mom, bonus mom that they call it.
Ah, okay. So this was one of the questions when, okay, so you started out then alone with the kids, then you met your wife, and then she was the co-parent, so to speak. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, that's amazing, incredible. And you just dropped like so many, casual things, and you went through so much, and yeah, that is really impressive, and also shows how when you get to chew big chunks throughout lives, I guess you then also build up such a resilience. But do you also feel like sometimes because you've been through so much and lived maybe also through your biggest fears and faced extreme situations where do you feel like you're more relaxed and at ease, or is it giving you like what's the effect of that for you when it comes to your state of mind? Does that sometimes bring forward anxiety, maybe even because you know how life can also be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the beginning, I was operating from a survival mode,
Mhm.
right? And then when I was writing the book and I revisited all of these instances again, all these different life experiences, I went back to therapy. So
Mhm.
I went to therapy to be able to really understand what I had been through and really get to the other side of it.
Right.
So, had I not written the book, I don't think I would have revisited a lot of the stuff that I wrote about. And a lot of those things were necessary. It was 100% necessary. And then now, right, I can talk to you about it. And actually, that's what helped me go to therapy. Thinking about it too was like, oh my goodness, nobody's gonna like me because of what I'm putting in this book. And
Mm.
my therapist was like, no, you're gonna, they're gonna see your strength and resilience, and they're gonna see so much in what you've been through, not the other way around, right? So me thinking that it was shameful having three
Mhm.
kids by 21, like not being married, not being with the dad, then being with my wife, right, which was not accepted by my mom, and then having my father incarcerated right after that, and he still is. So there's a lot of different things that have gone on. Then the death of my friend, that was horrible and so hard to deal with, and then advocating for myself. But the therapy was really what took me to this place where I'm at now,
Mhm.
where I'm at peace with everything that's happened. And that's why now I know all the lessons. That's why I know all the good that can come out of bad. So I don't only just appreciate the good in my life, I also appreciate the bad. Like Tony Robbins used to say, give credit for the good and the bad.
Of course, and these are the lessons, but it takes like a, not only adjustment, but it takes that level of maturity then too to see, oh, this actually didn't happen to me, but for me, and creating from that place of gratitude now and saying, all right, this is this has shaped my life. And thanks to these people, situations, and circumstances, I'm now the person who I am. And it's incredible that you turned this into like a book and a way of helping others and see and have the courage to lead with your story. Because a lot of people do have incredible stories and make it through, but then they keep it to themselves because of the shame that they are feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess the biggest lesson for me too, like when you let go of the shame and
Mm-hmm.
you simply own yourself and just say, so what? So then people know that is when you're truly living from your authentic place. And I think that's the most magnetic frequency you can be on. And
Yes,
and suddenly people raise
absolutely.
their hands, me too, me too, me too. And you're like, what? Why was I ashamed? Like, why was I afraid of being seen, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's what I learned. I learned to be invisible,
Mm,
right? I
yeah.
learned to be invisible. That was a learned behavior because I had so many different situations where I had to stay quiet, where I had to, otherwise my father would blow up on us, or it could be life or death, depending on where I was. So you learn that. And then now with my executive sponsor, she saw me for
Right.
everything that I was. And she was a really good coach and a really good mirror to me. And that's the gift that she gave me, that after that, I was unstoppable. Like there was just nothing I couldn't accomplish. There was nothing I couldn't do. After that, that was 5 years ago. After that, it's like one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And I had already been doing well
Mm,
before I met her. But then once she gave me the gift of her being the coach that I really needed, then I said, oh my goodness, like this is really something. I need to give this to other people. I need to learn how to do the same. And I need to give it to other people, because that's when I really just didn't care. Like I have no judgment zone. It's like I'm here and we are going to be with me. And if you don't like it, we're going to figure it out. And that's it.
right. But
Yeah.
don't you think like that what you just described is such a perception shift because you were doing well, but you still had attachment. You still were just holding on to something that felt like you were in a box still. And then
Yes.
that that what you described with your coach is basically you suddenly starting to allow yourself, oh, this is how it feels to fully be me and also be out there. So
Yes.
incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hid that I had kids because I had lost salary increases, right? After maternity leave, they told me I couldn't. So they thought because I was a young mom that I wasn't reliable.
Mm,
Then I hid my wife because my mom didn't accept it. So I was afraid of judgment from other people.
mm,
And then, just hiding where I come from only because sometimes they think, they have certain stereotypes about us. So then those are the kinds of things that I was trying to protect myself.
mm.
And I realized that I didn't need to continue to do that anymore with her. She saw me and I was able to just be free. And I have been free since. And I
Wow.
mean, it's just such a
Incredible.
gift, really. Yeah.
Incredible. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, I could talk to you for hours. What is one message, one nugget that you would like the listeners to hear? Also, maybe from a point of like perspective of um, motherhood and entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of times that women are out there thinking it's a linear thing, first that, then that. Um, yeah, something that you want to share around that.
I would like to share that don't wait to accept love, because for me, that took me 40 years to be able to accept love for real. And my wife was with me throughout all this time, and my kids were with me through all this time. But it was so hard for me to accept myself. It was one of the hardest things to do. And doing hard things are just another way that you can prove to yourself that you're made of gold, you're made of like strength, resilience. I mean, don't be afraid to challenge yourself, because you'd be really surprised at what you can accomplish once you give yourself a chance.
Mm,
And that love for yourself is the key to really being able to move mountains, not just for you, but for everybody around you. And it took me so long to really accept it and accept happiness that I really don't want people to wait. It's just, it took me such a long time. And I know I had so many missed opportunities for being fully happy, fully fulfilled, and fully joyful
mm,
throughout so many different experiences. And
yeah.
when you bring that into entrepreneurship, people are just magnetic to you. Like, people will just show up, the world just starts opening, the doors just start coming and
Mm,
asking. You can, I used to be afraid to ask and to say, hey, me, how about me? Or,
yeah.
you need somebody? Yeah, sure, let me come and join you, and those are the kinds of things that really happen when you really want to. And it'll take time, like everything else. Don't expect things to come and turn around within a day. I mean, everything I've been through that became great, it took me at least a decade. So, it's those 50,000 hours that you have to put in and all the extra work, right? It takes time. So give yourself the time, but don't wait forever either.
Right. Yeah, amazing. And also now I feel like sometimes people think there's this magic pill and you do it once, this one thing that is missing, the key to unlocking, but it's the combination of everything. It's the daily coming back and recommitting. It's the daily shower, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so
It is. It really is.
yeah.
Yeah, because when you have kids and when you have so many different responsibilities, right? It does take you really listening to yourself and using that quiet time to figure out how you're going to move so that you're not reactionary all day. You can be proactive in a sense if you give yourself that time. And
Mm,
whether you have to wake up, earlier than your kids, or you have to go to bed after your kids, I always use that time. Now I do
yeah.
it before. When I was raising my kids, I used to do it when they went to bed. So they would go
Mm,
to bed, 7, 8, whatever it was, and then I would stay up an extra hour or two to do
mm.
whatever else I needed. So there was always a time for myself.
Yeah, I think that's key. Like that shifted a lot in my in the way I started becoming that fully present mother when I noticed, oh, I just need to get up at I get up at 4:44. I
Mm.
love angel numbers, and so I set my alarm to 4:44, unless I have a podcast interview that starts earlier. And then but then that changed everything for me, because even if I only get to spend 10 minutes of that time that I carved out, and because kids decided to wake up early or interrupt whatever, um, it still feels that I'm filling my cup, which is
Mm-hmm.
necessary to go through the day. Um, and we are persons, like we are individuals who need that. And coming from that place as a mother is crucial, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
love that you say that. Oh
Yeah.
my
And
gosh. Yeah, go.
yeah, I just don't think I would have been as good of a mom to my kids or have given them the privileges that they have today if I didn't give myself that time.
Mm.
Because even, I think it would have been worse had I not done it, had I not done the work for myself and not listened to whatever it was. Sometimes it's our intuition, sometimes people think it's God, people think it's a calling, whatever it might be, whatever you think it is, your gut. If I hadn't paid attention to that, I really don't think I would have been such a great mom to my kids and
Mm.
really stayed on the path.
Totally. Yes, I love that. Okay, thank you so much. This was interesting, inspiring. I hope everyone who's listening is going to check out your book. I will for sure. And also, again, we will link in the show notes how people can find you and work with you. But yeah, you're on Facebook. Is that your strongest platform where you're most present and active?
Yes, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn as well. On YouTube, I have my own channel,
Okay.
author Miriam Simon.
Perfect. And a podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
My podcast name is Latina Mic Drop. You could find it
Oh,
anywhere you
nice.
listen to podcasts. Yeah. That
I
came that
love the
came out
name.
of one day. Yeah, I came that came out of one day. I was upset about it. I didn't get a job. I didn't get a promotion. And so I started journaling. And I said, you know what? This is too small for you. This is what you're doing. So I got up, went to the couch, and I just went like this. And I said, oh, I know what I'm gonna name my podcast. I'm gonna name it Latina Mic Drop. And then it just came out of nowhere. I had been pondering on the name for months, and out of a bad situation, that's what came up.
I
Hmm.
love it. I love it. Is it then in Spanish or English?
English. It's
It is.
English.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Nice. I love it. I'll definitely check it out. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Miriam, so much. This was fantastic. I enjoyed this a lot. And yes, let's stay in touch. I hope we get to collaborate in the future, and that people who resonate with your story are taking that plunge and say, okay, this was my wake up sign. I can do it too. I can yes, go forward with my mission. And so thank you.
Thank you too, Julia. Appreciate it. I had a great time.
Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time. Bye.